Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another exciting, informative, and hopefully entertaining episode of the Currently On podcast. Now, today is Saturday, August the 22nd, 2020. It is currently 10:59 a.m. Central Time. Well, a few days ago, I had my headphones on, and I was listening to music. And everything was proceeding in a normal way. It was just another day of listening to music, all right? I was enjoying myself. Everything was going fine. Everything was great. Everything was wonderful. And then, boom, it happened. I found myself chasing the musical rabbit. Now, maybe you can understand that. Maybe you can relate to it. Maybe you understand what I'm talking about, or maybe you have absolutely no idea. Let me explain what happens. When the musical rabbit chase begins, this is what's going on. You're listening to music, and then all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute. This song reminds me of this song. So then you go from that song to that song, and then when you're listening to that song, you're like, wait, this reminds me of this. Wait, this reminds me of this. And you just start chasing. You don't even really know what you're after. You just know you're after this musical rabbit, and you're going from one album to another album, from one artist to another artist, from one genre to another genre. And you don't even really know sometimes the connection. You're following it, and you don't know where the rabbit trail is going to take you, but you're hoping that you're going to you're going to find that musical rabbit, and it's all going to make sense, and it can last for hours. You're listening to this, and you're like, wait a minute. The person who produced this song, he also produced that album. And the next thing you're going to that album. You're like, wait a minute. There's a person. Oh, the person on the background vocals on this song, they released a solo album a few years later. And you just start chasing. And you don't even really know where you're going, but you just go. And it's a lot of fun. Sometimes it's a little maddening because you don't know where you're going. But then all of a sudden, you get to the end of the trail. And there is the musical rabbit. You've captured it. And for me, this day that I was chasing the musical rabbit, I was going from here, I was going from there. And then all of a sudden, a song started. I don't even know how I ended up there. I don't even know how I got there. But it started playing. And as soon as it started playing, I'm like, wait, wow, I remember this song. This song is iconic. This song is awesome. This song's amazing. And I'm dancing along. I'm singing along. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute. That can't be. There's no way. And then so I backed it up. I started the song again, and it got to right there in the middle. And then I'm like, wait a minute. That's a trombone solo. A trombone solo and a song that is iconic. A trombone solo and a song that was a hit. It was on the top 40. It was on radio. And I started thinking, wait, how many songs have a trombone solo that was a hit? And I started thinking, I'm like, okay, obviously during the big band era, there was going to be songs with trombone solos, but since the post big band era, I can't think of that many. And so I started racking my brain. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, I think early Chicago, I think they had a few hits that featured a trombone, and maybe there was a trombone solo. And then I started thinking, wait, Joanna by Kool and the Gang, I think that was 1983. I think there was a trombone, maybe there was a trombone solo in Joanna by Kool and the Gang. I need to go back and listen to it. And I'm like, I can't think of any others. But this song has a trombone solo, and it's iconic. It was a big hit. It's still pretty relevant today. The artist is, famous and very well known. I'm like, okay, I've got to talk about this. I've got to talk about this song. I started thinking about everything I knew about the song, started looking up some information, and that's what I want to do in this episode of the Currently On podcast. I'm going to give you information. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be entertaining because you're going to learn about a song, a hit song that features a trombone solo, and you're going to stop what you're doing as soon as this episode is over, and you're going to go find the Currently On Radar playlist, which is available on Spotify. You should be following it. Look, the fact that you're not following it is hurtful to me. It really is. It's really hurting me. It's making me depressed. Please follow the Currently On Radar playlist. It's available on Spotify and on Apple Music now. The Currently On Radar playlist. And obviously you can tell from the title, what's the goal of the playlist? It's to share with you what's on my musical radar. And because I heard this song, I added it to the Currently On Radar playlist. And now I want to tell you about it. So I want you to think. Just see if you can, You see the title of the podcast episode. I guess you already figured it out. But if you tried to guess, could you guess, would this song come to your mind if you were you're on a TV game show and they said, okay, name a hit song that featured a trombone solo. It's a female artist. She's very famous in the world of disco. Would you get it? Well, hopefully you would, because the song I want to talk about, well, let me just read some of the lyrics. Let's see if this rings a bell, all right? I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I want the world to know, got to let it show. I'm coming out. I want the world to show, I got to let it show. There's a new me coming out. And I just had to live, and I want to give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around, I'm going to do it like you never knew it. Oh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of this shell. I have to shout that I'm coming out. It's hard to read those lyrics and not want to try to sing along, but if I try to sing to the lyrics, I'll lose, 90% of my followers because, yeah. I can talk, but I can't sing. I love to sing when no one is around, but I don't have any talent in that department. I may love music and I may listen to thousands of hours of it, but I don't have any talent in making it. Okay. But I can tell you the history of it. I can talk about it. So here I am. I'm to talk about that song. Do you recognize those lyrics? Do you? I'm coming out by, everyone tell me, Dianna Ross. I'm coming out by Dianna Ross. It was, it was number 6, number 5 on the top 40. Back when the song came out, there was a thing called the Billboard Disco Chart. It hit number 1 on the disco chart. But I'm coming out by Dianna Ross, and the song features. I know you may not even remember this. It features a trombone solo. You've got to hear the song, even if you hate the song, even if you hate anything that sounds like disco, even if you dislike Dianna Ross, you got to hear the song, even if you don't even have a clue what it is. You just need to hear it for the trombone solo, and you need to hear both versions of the song, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes. Here's some information. I'm Coming Out. It's a song recorded by American singer Dianna Ross. It was written and produced by Chic members Bernard Edwards and Nile Rodgers. Now, if you know the band Chic, man, they put out some hits, man. Chic was all over radio, especially in part of the 70s. And Nile Rodgers, can you get anyone more talented? And that man is talented. So they're the ones who wrote the song, Bernard Edwards and Nile Rodgers. The song was released on August the 22nd. Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, no, I planned it this way. The song was released on August the 22nd, 1980. Here we are in 2020 talking about the song. All right. I think that's awesome. So the song was released on August the 22nd, 1980. It was released. So on this day in history, I'm Coming Out by Dianna Ross, which features a trombone solo, was released. It was released as the second single from Ross's self-titled 10th album, Dianna, which obviously was released in 1980 as well. Now, here's what's interesting. Dianna Ross, she was super unhappy with the album. From all the reports I've ever read, she did not like it. She was unhappy because she thought Nile and Bernard was trying to make her sound like Chic. And she didn't want to sound like Chic. She wanted to sound like Dianna Ross. Now, of course, you could argue, well, then, hey, Dianna, go write your own music and don't have other people from the band Chic writing your music. But that's a whole different thing. So this is interesting. She took the master tapes from Power Station and went to Motown in Detroit to remix the record. Now, this is very important. This is why you end up with two versions of most of the album. There are two versions of the album. You've got the original mix, and then you got basically the Motown mix. Okay. Now the original mix is interesting. Now here's what's awesome in 2020. If you go pull up the album Dianna by Dianna Ross that was released in 1980, look for the deluxe edition. Guess what you can do? You can hear the what's sometimes called the Chic mix, the original mix. Oh, so you can hear that. That's at the kind of if you look at the deluxe version, the first songs are the songs that were taken to Motown and remixed. Then at the bottom of the deluxe edition, if you go down, you'll see I think they're referred to as the Chic remix or the Chic mix, original mix. Yeah, the original Chic mix. That's how they're listed. So you can hear both mixes, which is very interesting from a historical perspective. And what happened? She was just unhappy. She was very unhappy, so she took the tapes and she went to Motown in Detroit and she basically had it remixed. When the album came out, her early interviews that Dianna Ross gave, let's just say she was unenthusiastic about it, and she wasn't too happy with Niall and Bernard, her producers. But guess what happens? It turns out that it became her biggest selling album ever. Now, you could argue, did it become her biggest selling album ever because of the remix done at Motown? And if they would have released the original mix done, that basically the Chic mix, would it have been as big of a hit? That would be interesting to know. Would Coming Out have made it to number one? Now, there was two obviously big singles from the album. Upside Down, you probably know that one. And that one actually went to number one. And then I'm Coming Out, which was a top 10. I believe it made it to number 6, and I know it made it to number 1. It made it to number 1 on the disco chart. Now, here's the question. How did a song with Nile Rodgers end up with a trombone solo? Because you would kind of think Nile Rodgers, you think possibly a guitar solo of some sort. But no, a trombone solo. Here is the story. It's kind of fascinating. Nile recorded all the tracks and vocals and called in Mecco Menardo, I think is how you say his last name, Mecco Menardo. And they called him in and his horn section for a 3-hour date. Now, I could get into some of the background of Mecco Menardo, but that's okay. So Nile calls him in for a 3-hour date. Hey, we're going to bring you in for 3 hours. Mecco tells us what happened. And here's his account of what occurred. We had a great time as the songs were fabulous, especially Upside Down and I'm Coming Out. We sounded great. Niall was pleased and I was packing up. He asked me to stay and play a jazz trombone solo on one of the tracks. And I said, this is Mecco Menardo telling the story. I said, Niall, there are a lot of hit records with jazz saxophone solos, even some with jazz trumpet solos, but there's not one with a trombone. He said, that's exactly why I want you to do it. All right. Now, here's the thing. If you want to hear the original jazz trombone solo, you have to listen to the Chic mix, the original mix. Now, the trombone still makes it on the Motown mix. It's still there. And I've placed both versions of I'm Coming Out on the Currently On Radar playlist, back to back. So just find the Currently On Radar playlist. Just go down a little ways. You'll see I'm Coming Out. Listen to them back to back, and you can tell me which version you like the best. And was Dianna Ross smart and having it remixed, or should she have stayed with the original mix? The remix version is the one that made it on the charts. Now, there's another thing about the song I'm Coming Out, because you probably connect it with. I bet you do. I could be wrong. If you know the song I'm Coming Out, just when I started reading those lyrics, let me read them again. I'm coming out, I'm coming out, I'm coming out, I'm coming out. Remy repeats a lot. I want the world to know, got to let it show, I'm coming out. I want the world to know there's a new me coming out, and I just had to live, and I want to give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around I'm going to do it like you never knew it. I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of this shell. I have to shout that I'm coming out. Now, if you hear those lyrics, it's very hard, especially if you know how the song kind of has played out throughout history. The song basically became an anthem for the LGBTQ community. It really became a part of that community. The phrase coming out to describe one's self-disclosure of sexual orientation or gender identity has been present in the gay subculture since the 20th century. So this phrase, I'm coming out, has been around in that world for a very long time. It's also been understood as, quote unquote, coming out of the closet or coming out from hiding. The song is thus interpreted as a celebration of lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender identity and the encouragement of self-disclosure. That's what the song, it's become attached with that meaning, and that's how it's basically understood. And when people sing along with it, they're like, that's what it's about. But there's an interesting story. Dianna Ross did not interpret the lyrics that way. She had a completely different meaning in mind. Nile Rodgers, though, the one who wrote the song, he did connect it to this. Here's what happened. Rodgers got the idea for the song I'm Coming Out after noticing 3 different drag queens dressed as Dianna Ross at a New York club. So he was at this club. He saw 3 drag queens that were dressed up as Dianna Ross. And he was like, boom, I'm coming out. They're coming out. And so that's the way he wrote the song. However, okay, the lyrics had an additional meaning to Dianna Ross herself. She was leaving Motown Records, and she was coming out from under Berry Gordy's thumb. According to a documentary on BBC4, How to Make It in the Music Business, Ross loved the record. I mean, she loved it until she put it in front of someone, and they pointed out that I'm Coming Out is what homosexuals use to announce their homosexuality. And she's like, well, wait, what? Wait. You're telling me I'm coming out is a phrase used by homosexuals to announce that they're coming out? She, according to at least one report, she breaks down in tears. And she goes running and to Nile Rodgers demanding, why are you trying to ruin my career? Why are you trying to destroy me? Now, I don't know if those were the exact words, but Dianna Ross, she saw this as I'm coming out. I'm leaving Motown. I'm going to step out on my own. So it was a kind of an anthem of independence, of freedom, of coming out from someone else's control, coming out from someone else's, authority and going to be your own person. That's how she saw it. Now, Rodgers was definitely attaching it more to possibly the LGBTQ scene and idea. So again, it's interesting how the lyrics can be interpreted different ways. People read it. We tend to read lyrics through our own experience. So that kind of adds a little interesting history about the song. All right. Now, I think this is an interesting part here of what. Now I'm not going to get into all the history here. Basically, just to remind you, I have a lengthy discussion here of how it all went down. Just remember, the album is done. Dianna Ross is not happy with it. She grabs the tapes. She goes to Motown. She has it remixed. And so, and the trombone solo, you'll hear the difference if you listen to the way that it was released on the album, and then if you listen to the Chic mix, you'll hear the difference. And that really makes it fascinating, and that really makes it interesting, and it makes it well worth listening to. So here's a couple of things about I'm Coming Out that I think are fascinating. Number one, it's fascinating because it has a trombone solo. That's fascinating. You should listen to it just for that because try to go through all the top 40 hits throughout music history and try to find songs with a trombone solo. You're going to be searching for a very long time. You talk about chasing that musical rabbit, you'll be on that rabbit trail for a long time. Just try to find popular songs with trombone solos. That's and the pop kind of world. Maybe it's time that we get a new song with a trombone solo. Hey, Billie Eilish, I want you to hear this. Release a song with a trombone solo. If anyone can pull it off, it's Billie Eilish. Go for it, all right? Okay? Or Dua Lipa, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of people. Lady Gaga, there's a lot. Someone bring back the trombone, okay? Come on, we need more trombone. I don't know if we really need more trombone, but I just think it's interesting that this song has a trombone solo. All right, so that's number one. Number two, second thing about this song, just interesting that we have 2 mixes of the album, and both are now available on the deluxe edition of Dianna by Dianna Ross, the album released in 1980. Please, you may want to just listen to both versions and see which version you like the best. I would definitely challenge you, at least listen to I'm Coming Out, listen to both versions, and both versions are available on the Currently On Radar playlist. They're right there. They're back to back. I did the work for you, okay, to make it simple. So that's why you should follow the Currently On Radar playlist. Here's the thing. If you follow that playlist, it's updated all the time. If it's being updated, you know why? Because I'm literally standing there with a pair of headphones on listening to music. And what I'm listening to, it typically shows up on the playlist. All right. So it's not, there's no algorithm. It's just a real person listening to real music, throwing it on there. And I think there's something interesting about that because it has a human touch. So you should follow that playlist. All right. And listen to both versions. A third that's interesting thing about, so number one, we have a trombone solo. Number two, we have two versions of the album. Number three, a fascinating thing is just lyric interpretation. It's so interesting how the songwriter can have a certain idea in mind when they release the song, but other people who hear it, they interpret it in a different way. And sometimes this is frustrating, but sometimes it's interesting. A good example, Every Breath You Take by The Police. All right, I cannot tell you how many times, you'd be listening to one of those dedication shows and someone would call in, I would like to dedicate Every Breath You Take by The Police. And I like to dedicate this to my girlfriend. And I always wanted to call in and say, hey, that person who just dedicated that song to their girlfriend, I have a message for their girlfriend. Get a restraining order and do it now, because Every Breath You Take is not a love song. It's a dark, twisted song about obsession, about someone wanting to possess someone stalking someone. It's not a romantic love song. How many people hear it that way? It's insane. Even Sting himself from The Police was like, I don't get it. But that's what happens. Born in the USA is not a patriotic song about, whoa, born in the USA, go USA. Read the lyrics. It's not, but that's how it's interpreted by many. So it's this weird thing. Should we try to figure out what the artist intended? Now, some artists don't like for us to know really what the original intent was. Some artists, they have the original intent. It speaks to them a certain way. Then they just put it out there in the public, and whatever happens to it, happens to it. However it's interpreted, and they don't care. Maybe it's just me. I like to know the original intent. I like when the artist comes out and says, no, this is what I meant by it, because I want to interpret the song first according to its original meaning. And then I can ask myself, I wonder why I interpret it this way. I wonder why I do this. But it's this weird dynamic. You put lyrics in front of everyone, and it's interesting how you can come up with different meanings. Now, clearly there is an original intent. The songwriters had an original intent and an original interpretation, and that's ultimately what matters. But if the artist is not going to tell us, and if that information is secret, then it's either one, we misinterpret the song, or the song is written in such a way where it can lead to multiple interpretations. I think some songwriters leave it vague enough that multiple interpretations can come from the song, but I think sometimes the reason we get weird interpretations is because of people's inability to interpret lyrics. I think that has something to do with it as well. But there you have it. I'm Coming Out by Dianna Ross. It was released on this day in 1980. And here we are talking about it all of these years later. And August 22nd, 2020, right? It's August the 22nd, right? I want to make sure I'm correct. Yeah, August the 22nd, 2020. And the song was released August the 22nd, 1980. That's just, I love how music just can live on. And I think the song is just as catchy today. I think if you put that song on anywhere, people are going to dance to it. Now, people may have a certain meaning to it, but here's the thing. When I hear I'm Coming Out, yes, if it speaks to the LGBTQ community, wonderful. That's great. But it's hard not to hear the song and get this sense of freedom, this sense of life, this sense of, yes, this could be played when you've graduated from high school. I'm coming out. You graduated from college, or you're leaving home. I think there's a lot of, it just gives this great sense of freedom, this sense of, I'm going to live my life. And I'm going to grab the moment right now. I'm going to take this moment and I'm going to cherish it. So there's a freedom to it. There's a celebratory nature to the song. And you can't help but hear it and smile. You can't. I mean, as soon as the song comes out, I'm like, man, I'm here. I'm dancing right now. You can't tell me, but I love it. And then trombone solo, that's just perfection. That's Nile Rodgers. You're a stinking genius. He has proven that over and over and over and over and over. Hey, You do know that there's never been a song with a trombone solo to be a hit. I know, and that's why we're going to do it. We're going to be the first. I love that. I love that creativity. I love that boldness. I love that. So just an amazing moment in music history. Go listen to it today. I'm Coming Out by Dianna Ross. Listen to the whole album, and if you do, get the deluxe version. The deluxe version is available on streaming services, so you can hear both mixes. The original mix done by Nile Rodgers, okay, the Chic mix, and then you can see how Dianna Ross grabbed those tapes, ran back to Motown and said, "Hey, they're trying to destroy me. I hate this garbage. Can you help me out?" And it's just interesting how, who was right? Who was right? You can have that debate today. And I want to be a part of it. Email me, newsif@yahoo.com, 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 newsif@yahoo.com. All right. There you have it. A little music to listen to on this Saturday afternoon. Well, it's not afternoon yet. Saturday morning for me. Soon will be Saturday afternoon. Whatever you're doing today, enjoy life. I say this at the end of every episode, life is crazy, crazy, crazy short. You never know when it's going to end. You don't know how it's going to end. So you better enjoy it right now. And if you don't enjoy the small things, you're missing out. So many people seem so jaded and just take things for granted. Man, every song, enjoy it, appreciate it. Don't take it for granted. Every movie, every TV show, everything around you, don't take it for granted. Enjoy the little things. It will make life far more enjoyable. All right, everyone, have a great day. Get out there, enjoy life, and listen to I'm Coming Out today. Celebrate its release day. I'm Coming Out by Dianna Ross. All right, thanks for listening.